say, dance for me, dance for me, dance for me, oh, oh, oh. Oh. Hello, I'm Evan, the Education Program Leader for the National Music Center, coming at you today from Studio Bell. Pegboard is the best. You know, pegboard. Board with holes in it. Like this stuff. I love this stuff. Perhaps you're wondering why. What's to love about a piece of board with a bunch of holes in it? Because I have one of the strangest jobs in the world. For the last several years, I have been building instruments on pegboard. And you should do it too. You can build all sorts of instruments on pegboard. But today, we're going to use it to build some string instruments. Though they can look different, string instruments are pretty much the same. To demonstrate this, I have a violin, a guitar, and a steel harp from the inside of a grand piano. The first thing we should note is that all of these have strings. The string will be the vibrating part of the instrument. The strings on all of these instruments are made of steel, but they could be made out of other materials like plastic or rubber or other things. But for a string to vibrate back and forth and make sound, it has to be held tight. So each of these instruments has some kind of structure to hold the string tight. Each string is wrapped around some kind of peg. This peg can be loosened or tightened to change the tension, which controls the tuning or pitch. That string is usually held against the body of the instrument by a bridge. Here's a bridge, here's a bridge. Depending on the shape and the material of the body, the string will resonate differently, and it will give the instrument a unique timbre. String, peg, bridge, resonance. Strings, pegs, bridge, resonance. Pretty much every string instrument shares these features, and we can play around with all these design features very well on pegboard. The simplest way to do this would be to just start attaching strings to this piece of pegboard. But we run into a couple of problems. First of all, the tension will start to pull the edges together and this piece will start to bow. Secondly, when you put things into pegboard, it sticks out the bottom, so we want to add a bit of structure. In the spirit of going as simple as possible, we are just going to attach these two pieces of wood so that we can lay it flat on a table. I'm going to use this electric drill and these tiny screws to attach the wood to the pegboard. Please be careful when using power tools. Perfectly functional. But what are we going to use for strings? We're going to use fishing line, rubber bands, and some guitar strings. When I first started out, I used a lot of pegboard hooks for structure. Attach that. And while you can do very cool things with this, it's a little bit dangerous. The pegboard hook will not pop out as long as it's being pulled this way. But if it's lifted out, it can just pop out. I'll never forget the time I was at the Science Center demonstrating pegboard instruments to a mother when a hook connected to a rubber band went flying. Luckily it didn't hit anyone. So while there is a lot of cool stuff you can do with pegboard hooks, I tend not to use them. Instead I use these beautiful things. So they don't sell these in every store. For about 60 cents a peg, I can usually find these online, and then you can get lots of them. So this is a minor expense, but it is a wonderful object. And it fits perfectly in the hole. Something that makes this really useful is that this peg is tapered, meaning that it gets slightly bigger as it goes. So the more you push it in, the tighter it gets. Now usually the violin peg goes through the top of the violin and it's held on either side, so the hole is right here. With this, that hole does end up on the other side. So on most of these, I have drilled a smaller hole up here to help put strings through it. Let's start with some fishing line. Fishing line will come in different thicknesses. It will be rated to different weights. This fishing line is rated at 14 kilograms, or 30 pounds, which is a good time to mention that strings can snap. So it's a good idea to wear eye protection. Cut a length of string. I can hold this tight enough so that when it vibrates it does make a sound, but I can't hold it very steady. It's also not very loud, so let's attach it to my pegs. Now you don't have to do a fancy knot for this. I just put it through the hole, loop around, go back through the hole, pull that tight, wrap it around. The thinner this is, the more slippery it'll be, so if it's smaller, loop around again, and that is secure. Lovely. This fishing line has a bit of stretching to do. As it stretches, we will hear the pitch go down. This is because the speed of the vibration controls the pitch. So I can change the pitch in 3 ways. I can change the tightness. I can change the length of the vibrating part of the string. Or you can change the thickness of the string. So this is already a lot of fun, but it gets much better if I add a bridge. Now these pegs are doing a little bit of that work, but if we take this bit of scrap wood, you can cut little diagonals and you get little triangular wedges that can act as a movable bridge. The movable bridges are helpful for a couple of reasons. While you can tune by twisting this, the tighter you go, the harder it is to twist. And it's easier to do fine tuning by sliding this around. It's also fun to play with the string tension by pushing on the other side. I also made a lot of these triangular wedges when the 3D printer was working. Miss you, buddy. But also, the bridge doesn't have to carry the vibration to the board. We can add objects underneath to play with the resonance. The shape and the material will change the timbre of the sound. You might have also heard that gave quite a boost to the volume. We have strings, we have pegs, we have bridges, and we have resonating objects. Let's put it together to build something. Could also use sticks. So fishing line is wonderful, and it gives you nice soft tones, but I also like using old guitar strings. Now the problem here is that there are 2 strands going across, and they're sort of interfering with each other. So with rubber bands, it's really best to make a triangle. Loop around this side, loop around this side, and then you can tune these 2 notes. So yeah, it's not the most refined instrument in the world, but it's just Pegboard. So if you enjoy building instruments, may I recommend Pegboard? Let's say you wanted to understand more about how sound is created by vibrations and you can control pitch and volume and timbre. May I recommend Pegboard? Might be a good teaching tool. And until next time, happy exploring. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and/or subscribe. Also, the National Music Centre is a charity that relies on donations. So if you have the means and feel like it, please go to studiobell.ca/donate.